the orbital guacamole.
Greetings, fellow engineers. My name is Robotas, and today I want to talk to you about one of my latest fascinations in space engineers, the Real Solar Systems mod. The Real Solar Systems mod, developed by user Ekthros, is a mod which greatly changes one of the most fundamental aspects of space engineers, the planets. Simply put, this mod gives players the ability to exist in a game where realistic planetary orbits occur, making space travel more engaging and exciting. Now, this mod doesn't give planets the physics to operate as our real-life celestial neighbors do in the solar system. Rather, the mod places proxies, or stand-ins, for the planets of the game. These proxies look like the Earth-like planet, or Pertam, but are actually just illusions. Once you are close enough to one of these proxies, then the actual voxel-based planet appears. Now I can keep going on and on and on about how awesome this mod is. Its ability to add a new layer of dimensionality to the pretty static sandbox of vanilla space engineers, the ability to view and utilize gas giants, getting close to stars and getting damaged by them, or even falling into a freaking black hole here. As much as I would love to keep talking about that stuff, you probably have a few questions. Can we only use the vanilla planets of the game? Are there any other proxies I can get? Can I make my own proxy? Well, let's just say you absolutely can. Not only did Ekthros create this behemoth of a mod that should totally be integrated into Keen Software House's V-Rage 3 engine, but he also developed the complementary Planet Exporter mod. All links, obviously, will be in the description. Quick disclaimer, I am barely a beginner at coding, so if you have any questions about some of the finer intricacies of the mod, I'm not the guy to talk to. However, if you have any knowledge in this field and are willing to help others with their questions, you can always comment below, maybe give a like and subscribe too, eh? With all that being said, I was able to create some proxies myself, and so can you. Just stick around and I'll show you the wonders of Ekthros's Planet Exporter mod right here, right now. Hello everyone, and welcome to the tutorial portion of the video. Really quickly, before we get started into the meat and potatoes of it all, there's a few prerequisites we need to download. For example, we need paint.net. We need paint.net specifically because when we generate texture files from the planet that you want to make into a proxy, you're going to need to export those texture files as a specific file type, a .dds file type. There's a plugin for GIMP, so if you have GIMP, you could try out the plugin. I tried downloading it and I was never able to get it to work, but paint.net is super simple. There's an option to export it as a .dds file in paint.net. It's free, it's easy. You go to getpaint.net, link will be in the description. You go to the downloads tab. Most of you are probably going to hit the free downloads option because we're all a little broke here. But if you do enjoy paint.net, you could purchase it from the Microsoft Store, or you can donate to the developers, which would be really nice. Next thing is Notepad++. Notepad++ is it's a code writing software. We're not going to be doing too much when it comes to coding. You don't need to be a genius, right? Just very simple things. You don't need to know how to, I don't know, code a quiz or whatever. So when you're at the notepad++.org website, link in the description, you're going to want to go to download. Why are they putting their political garbage in the downloads? Just ignore the politics. That's not important. We're trying to make planets in a video game. you would hit the latest release, I guess. When it comes to the mods that we are going to be specifically using, this video is all about the Real Solar Systems Planet Exporter. Again, all links in the description. It's made by Ekthros, this amazing little guy here. And of course, after exporting the textures and doing all the small little coding things, you're also going to need the Real Solar Systems mod, which is quite obvious. You want to test your creation. You want to make sure that it creates these lovely orbits. I'd also recommend you get the Real Solar Systems Empty World mod. Creating brand new Real Solar Systems world without this world is difficult and could crash the game. So for the sake of ease and use, we'll use this. And we're also going to need planets that we're going to have to create and export. 2 planets from the workshop that I'm going to be using. One of them is called Teal, and it utilizes the water mod, and the other is Typhoon, which also utilizes the water mod. Now, Real Solar Systems mod has support for the water mod and the aerodynamic physics mod. So if you have those 2 mods, there's not going to be any problems with putting the planets in the game and so on and so forth. All right, after downloading all those prerequisites, let's go ahead and let's create a world really quick. So open Space Engineers through Steam or through an icon on your desktop, whichever way you have it. Now the first thing we're going to want to do, obviously we're going to start a new game. We're going to start on an empty world. We're going to customize it real quick. We're going to make sure that we're in creative mode. We're going to name this our Exporter World. You can name your world whatever you want, type in whatever you want, but the most important part of this is that we need to select the right mods. Alright, the first mod that we're going to need to find is the Real Solar Systems Exporter mod, which is right here. The next mods are obviously the planets that you want to export. So we have Teal, we're going to be using the water mod version, and we're going to be grabbing Typhoon, which are 2 planet mods. We're going to hit OK, and we're going to start the world. Alrighty. We are in our brand new world, but before we move on with creating any kind of planets, we actually need to leave the world real quick because there's a certain config file that we need to modify. Alright, this config file that we need to modify can be found in the Space Engineers roaming folder. If any of you are familiar with modding in Minecraft, you'll know exactly how to get to the roaming folder. First thing that you want to do is hit the Windows R, which will bring up the run program. You could also just type Windows, press the Windows key, and type run, and there's the run. Within the run program, we're going to want to type in %appdata% and hit enter or click OK. Once we're here, as you can see, there's the .minecraft folder, but we are much more interested in the Space Engineers folder. We're going to want to open that. Just to let you guys know, if you do not have a folder called mods already in your Space Engineers folder, I'd create it right now, capital M, of course. But we're not actually going to be going into the mods folder. We're going to be going into the saves folder. In the saves folder, we are going to go into our most recently modified folder, which is this one. And as you can see, here's our save folder called Exporter World. We're going to want to go into the storage folder. We're going to go into the Planet Unwrapper folder. And here we have the config.xml file. Do not open it in Microsoft Edge. It's slow. We don't do that. Instead, we're going to edit it with Notepad++. Now, the reason why we want to be in here is because there's a couple of things to take note of. First of all, let's focus at this block right here, right? This block is telling you the exporting texture definition or texture resolution that we want to export our planet textures at. If we really quickly go back to our Real Solar Systems thing here, there's a discussion on the mod page that will tell you how to use the config commands once we get back into the game, but also the different values that we need when it comes to exporting your textures. Ekthros right here has left a comment saying how big you want your SD skins or your HD skins. I'm going with the HD skin dimensions. If we go back to Notepad++, as you can see, I have entered in the entries accordingly. We don't have to worry about watercolor, and we don't have to worry about water gloss. These are the parts that work with the water mod, obviously. Now, the next thing that we need to take into consideration is that any planet that you select from the mod workshop, sometimes the planets use modded voxels, which may not have a proper color that the exporter mod will know or understand. But because we created our world, and we created our world with the specific planets that we want to use, as you can see here, we can define the color for different textures, such as typhoon sand, typhoon ocean sand, and a little bit down here we also have teal. Now you're going to notice that under teal shore, teal sea, that all these values look exactly the same, 0.25, 0.25, 0.25, 0.25, etc., etc. And there are some values that don't look exactly the same. Now, what do these values mean? Well, these values are indicative of the RGB color of a planet, but this isn't in the traditional 0 to 255. This is any value between 0 and 1. But I have an interesting link for you that you can use to decipher this and also generate whichever color that you want. We have this website called rgbcolorpicker.com. Link will be in the description. And basically you could select whichever color you want and it will give you a value between 0 and 1. And this is the RGB value. And here's the hexadecimal value. This is the metalness and or transparency of the texture. RGB is also XYZ per to how the mod looks at the different colors. Now, say for example, because all these values are the same, the textures are going to end up looking like the same color when you're looking at the planet proxy. So let's change that. We want typhoon sand to be a specific color. So let us go to our color picker. Now, sand is a tannish, a yellowish kind of tan. And here are our color values right here. We have 0.941, 0.918, and 0.49. Let's add that to our config. So voxel color for typhoon sand is going to be 0.941. Our Y value is going to be 0.918. And our Z value, which is our green color, is going to be 0.49. We also have voxel gloss and voxel additive. Voxel gloss will basically make the sand voxel look glossy, and additive will actually make it glow. And it's a value, again, between 0 and 1, so depending on how intense you want the glow or the gloss to be, you pick a value between 0 and 1. And your values can go as far as like what we have here for our watercolors. And as you can see here, we see an example of gloss with the water gloss, 0.4. But because it's sand, I'm not going to have it be super glossy. I'm not going to do that. Sand is has a very matte kind of finish. I'm going to go through the different textures that are on Typhoon and Teal, and I'm going to make sure that the colors correspond with the different values we have here. And I'll get back to you in just a moment. I have updated all the values for the different teal textures and the different typhoon textures, which is all good and dandy. Once you have made all of the adjustments that you needed and you've made sure that, for example, Teal River, I'm going to give it a gloss of 0.4, similar to the water in the water mod. For Teal Ice, I'm making the additive a 0.1, so it glows a little bit. Once you've made all of the adjustments that you've made to the undefined textures within this config document, you're going to want to hit the save key, the save button, or Control S. We're going to exit out of the config. Now you could actually technically have it opened up while the game is running, and I'll show you exactly why you can do that. Let's minimize our Explorer, and let's open up Space Engineers again. Now that we are back into our world, this is where we can start doing everything that we need to. So we've obviously edited the config file, so we need to actually update the config file in our game. Press enter, brings up the chat box. You're going to want to hit /reload config and hit enter. And it'll tell you the config has reloaded in the middle of the screen, like that. Now you can actually have the config open on a separate window or on your other monitor, and you can edit the config while the game is open and reload it within the game, which is super nice. For the purposes of recording this video, I had to bounce back in and out. So now that we have updated our config, let's spawn our planets. We're going to want to go to Shift F10, hit this drop down menu, we're going to go to planets. So the first planet we want to try is Teal with the water mod. Now every time you want to export planet textures, your planet has to be at its maximum size of 120 kilometers so that the textures can get as much detail as they can for the proxy. Let's hit spawn, and let's spawn our Teal. And here is Teal, and look at that. Now something this mod does, the exporter mod, is as you see the text at the bottom in the middle of our screen, it says the planet target is teal and the voxel is TLC. If we look away, well, if we were looking at a different planet, it'll actually tell us we're looking at the different planet. Instead of saying it, why don't I show you it? And as you can see, the target is now Typhoon. We look over at teal. It's now teal. As we're hovering over the planet, we could also see the different textures. We have teal snow grass, we have stone, we have teal shore, we have teal sea. You want to make sure that all the textures that you're seeing that the mod is providing you are actually in the config file you set up, and it looks like that everything on teal is good. Let's come over to Typhoon, Ocean Desert Rocks, Ocean Stone, Triton Ice, that's from Triton, which is already in the game. So it looks like all the textures that the mod is showing me are also in the config file. So the next thing we need to do is actually export the textures. Let's pick teal. We'll have teal be our first test here. We look at teal, we see that. What we're going to do is that we're going to bring up the text box again. We're going to do / export CM. Now when I hit enter, the game is going to freeze. This isn't a problem. If your game freezes after doing this, it's just buffering, it's just loading, right? There's no need to worry about anything, right? I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to wait a couple minutes until the game is finished. So we have exported the CM textures. Now really quick, the CM textures are the main material textures. The NG textures are the gloss textures, and the add textures are the additive textures, which the additive textures are the glowing textures. So we already have the material textures for teal. Let's open up that chat box again, / export, and now we want to do NG. Bam, we hit enter. That was much more quicker. Exported that, and because I made sure that the snow on teal would have a slight glow to it, we're going to export the add textures, which is again / export add. Now, if your world that you are exporting does not have additive textures, you don't have to do this step of exporting the additive textures. For example, when I start exporting the textures of Typhoon here, I'm not going to be exporting anything additive because there's nothing glowing on the planet. Let me export the files for Typhoon here, and we'll get back to the desktop and I'll show you what to do next. Now that we are back at the desktop, we have exported our texture files, but we need to locate the texture files, and we also need to start setting up our own mods, which are the proxies that we're creating for the Real Solar Systems mod. The first thing that we want to do really quick is that we want to go to where our workshop folder is on our computer. So go to your PC. Most of you are probably going to go to your C drive. I'm going to go to my G drive. You're going to go into Steam Apps. You're going to go into Workshop. Most of the time we're going into Common, but this time we're going into Workshop. We're going to go into Content. We're going to go into the folder titled 244850. We have a list of folders with a whole bunch of different numbers. Now this is really, really annoying, but here's a little tip for you. We're looking for this, the workshop folder for this mod, right? If you look into the URL, there's actually going to be this number digit that's 335-1055-036. This is the ID number or the folder number name for this workshop mod. So going back into our folder here, we need to find 335-1055-036. This is the folder for the Real Solar Systems mod. We want to go in there, we want to go into data, and we are going to be copying this file right here, planetproxydefaults.sbc. We're going to copy this because we're going to put it into our own mod folder. Now, to do that, we're going to do the run command, the run program. We're going to go back to %appdata%. We are going to go all the way down to Space Engineers, and we're going to go into mods. Now, I created this folder called base. This base folder is the base for our Real Solar Systems mod. As a matter of fact, I'm actually going to rename it. I'm going to name it base_Real Solar Systems. Base RSS. Going into our mod folder that we need to create two more folders. We need a data folder and a textures folder. And the data folder is where we're going to be putting our copy of planetproxydefaults.sbc. Going back, in our textures folder, we need to create a folder called planets. and then there's nothing else after that. So only a few folders. Now the reason why we need a folder called planets is, well, we'll take a look at it in just a second. But first, we need to find our textures. Where, oh where will our textures be? So going back to the Space Engineers folder in our roaming folder, we're actually going to come down here to the storage folder, and at the bottom we have these TGA files. The 3 files for teal, our additive file, our CM file, and our NG file, and we have the CM and NG files for Typhoon. So they're going to be generated and placed into our storage folder in our Space Engineers roaming folder. I'm actually going to come to my desktop and I'm going to create a new folder. This is only temporary, you don't have to follow this step. And in my textures folder is where I'm going to be placing all of the textures that I've created here. Now the next thing that we want to do is that we want to start creating our mods. Going back to our Space Engineers roaming folder, going into mods, let's create our mods. And one of them is going to be called teal_RSS, and the other one is going to be called Typhoon. So we've created our mod folders, but now we need to put our textures into these mod folders. Now we can't just drop them in to the right folders, not yet. We need to open them up in paint.net. As you can see, the little icon on the left here is the paint.net logo. Let's first open up teal. Now when you open up the file, as you can see, everything is transparent. This is not a problem. The way how the mod exports the textures is a little strange. I don't necessarily know how to get around this, but there is something here. There is a design for teal on this transparent background. We can't see it, it's only a computer thing. Now the next thing we're going to do is that we're not going to draw or do anything right here. We're actually going to go to File, we're going to click Save As, and while we're here, it says Planet Proxy _teal watermod CM TGA. We're going to bring down the Save Type option, and we're going to click .dds, which is the Direct Draw Surface file. We're going to hit Save. Now this is very important. When you are exporting CM texture files, under Settings, you want to hit BC7 sRGB for the CM texture files. Once you've done that, you don't have to click anything else, and you can click OK. It's exported, and that's done. Let's hit Open. Let's get the teal watermod NG TGA file. We'll open that up. Now this shows a design right here. Again, it's purpley. It doesn't match what we've seen on the teal planet. Don't worry about it. Just leave it as is. Again, we're going to go to Save As. We're going to make it a .dds file. Hit Save. For NG files, we want to do BC7 linear, not sRGB, but linear. Once you've done that, don't hit anything else and click OK. Now, for the additive textures, we're going to hit Open. The Add TGA file, we're going to open. For our additive textures, we're going to hit Save As. We're going back to .dds. And they're the same as the CM textures. BC7 sRGB DX11+. Hit OK. And all of our textures have been exported for teal. I'm going to do the same with Typhoon, and I'll be right back with you. Alrighty, so we've exported all of our textures. Really quickly, I'm going to go to all the TGA textures, and I'm just going to delete them. We have our 5 DDS textures, 2 of them for Typhoon, and 3 of them for teal. Now we got to place these into their corresponding mod folders. Let's go into teal RSS, let's go into textures, let's go into planets, and let's drop all of our teal files into the planets folder. Now we're actually going to go to Typhoon, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put all of our texture files into the planets folder. Now that you have your textures in their corresponding folders, let's go into teal, let's go into data, and let's go into planet proxy defaults.sbc. It's going to open up with Notepad++, and as we can see here, this is the default script and text that's been inputted into the normal Real Solar Systems mod, and it has a whole lot of things in here. Now we actually don't care for most of this. We're going to actually select this first definition here for Earth-like we're going to keep, but every definition after it and before this point where it ends with entity components then definitions, we're going to delete. And we're going to change this name Planet Proxy Type Teal Water Mod. We're going to name that because this is in our Teal RSS folder, our mod folder. What this script does In order to generate the proxy and show the texture on it, this script is asking for the CM and NG textures, which is going to be found in your textures folder, then your planets folder, and then the name of the file. Because this is teal, we could quickly reference this by looking at our textures folder, looking under planets, and as we can see here, it's teal-watermod as spelt right here. So we're going to highlight this, we're going to type in teal-water-mod, and we're going to do the same here for the NG texture. Now we have an additive texture for this planet, so we're going to follow the same nomenclature where we have planet textures underscore CM and underscore NG. We're just going to type in planet texture underscore additive colon. Basically, you're going to want to copy the file names here, and instead of NG, we obviously want to make it add. There's a few other options we have down here. We have cloud texture for Earth-like. We have cloud size multiplier. We have atmospheric color, atmo thickness, atmo color multiplier, and editor icon color. Now the cloud texture, if we want our proxy to have clouds, we can give it clouds. Because Teal and Typhoon are so similar to Earth, I'm going to keep them with the Earth-like cloud texture. Cloud size multiplier says 1.9. I'm going to keep it there as well. I'm also going to keep the atmospheric color. This is going by the same rules as we previously saw with the texture colors in the config file. If you want, you can use your RGB color picker here, which will give you your values of between 0 and 1 for the different colors, and we can change the color of the atmosphere that we see on the proxy. Because Earth, Teal, and Typhoon all look incredibly similar, I'm going to keep all these values the same. Its atmospheric thickness, its color multiplier. You could play with those later. I'm not going to play with them right now, but I am going to play with the editor icon color, right? Because when we use the real solar systems mod, you're going to see on the top left side of your screen icons that represent the different astral bodies like the stars, the planets, the gas giants, etc. We want to make Teal and Typhoon have their own unique colors. So I'm actually going to go to my color picker, and I'm going to pick a nice greenish teal color for Teal's icon. It's 0.145, 0.89, and 0.729. So once we've made all the adjustments we have in our planet proxy defaults.sbc file, obviously you want to hit the save button and you're going to close it. And we're going to be doing the exact same thing for our Typhoon mod. Once I'm done editing this, we'll start the game back up and we'll really test our mod. Now in Space Engineers, what we're going to do is that we're actually going to be creating a new game. So we're going to hit New Game. We're going to go to the Community Content tab, and we're going to be creating a new game with the Real Solar System's Empty World save. Let's hit Start. Now that we are in our empty world, we're going to immediately quit. The reason why we're going to immediately quit is because we got to change some of the settings for the world. So if we go into Load Game, and we click Workshop, Empty World, Real Solar Systems, we're going to hit Edit Settings. This is where we can rename it. So I'm obviously going to name it Solar System Est. I'm going to put it on Creative Mode, and we're going to change some of the mods here. Now all the mods on the right, we can keep. Now the mods that we're going to incorporate are the mods that we created, such as Teal RSS and Typhoon RSS. Now these alone aren't going to work. We're also going to need the actual Teal water mod that we downloaded from the workshop, and we're also going to need Typhoon. Where's Typhoon? There's Typhoon. Now that our mod list has been updated, we can click OK. We can click OK, and we can go into Solar System Test and load it. Now that we're here, let's go into our spectator camera, and we are going to hit Enter /TSE. This is going to bring up the Solar System Editor, which is for the Real Solar Systems mod. Now we want to generate our planets, and we want to see how good they look. So first let's add a star, because no solar system looks good without a star. Go down to Star. Let's make our star 100 kilometers in radius, so 200 kilometers in diameter. And let's spawn our star.
there's our star. As you can see on the top left where our star is, there's its little, you know, icon color. We're actually going to be changing the color of the star because I'm not a big fan of purple, to be completely honest. A nice orangey yellow. Now let's generate our planets. We're going to add a new system. We're going to add a planet. We're going to be using our bracket keys to cycle through it. So we have Earth-like, Europa, Mars, Moon, Pertam, Teal Water Mod. We'll spawn it in at 60 kilometers. And let's spawn the planet. And as you can see, our icon is that tealish color that we generated in the script. Now let's make this thing orbit our star. Edit hierarchy. Set the parent to Irad. We're going to hit the OK, which is the left bracket. And it's over there. Look at that. Here is our teal. As you can see, its little textures seem to be working. From a distance, it looks really good. Once you get certain close, it seems pretty blue. Maybe that's something to do on my end in the scripting section, which I'm probably going to have to update. But this is the planet Teal. And we're so close in its influence that it's looking like teal. Let's spawn in the other planet we made. And there's our Typhoon, which I made orbit our teal. Let's take a look at Typhoon real quick. And as we can see, oh yeah, Typhoon is looking pretty snazzy. And we're just gonna fly down to the planet's surface here. We're on our planet. Yay! Isn't that fantastic? We generated our planets Typhoon and Teal. Amazing.
And there you have it, folks. Your very own planet with the ability to orbit. The possibilities of constructing any star system just lie at your very own fingertips. If you like, I will leave links to some proxies I made with the Dusty Desert Planet by Slowpoke Farm, Teal by Major John, and Typhoon by Eric's Cammy in the description. Also, if you made it this far, why don't you leave a like, a comment, and even subscribe to the channel? You could even share the video with your friends if you'd like. I also want to say thank you to my 107 subscribers and to all of my viewers. I was very shocked to see how quick it was after a couple of videos were uploaded to see how the channel grew the way it did. I'm very grateful, and thanks guys. Thanks everybody for watching. This video was really fun to make, and I can't wait to see what kind of planets you make with the Planet Exporter mod. So anyways guys, I'll leave you off with this. Just remember to stay epic, live epic, be epic, and I'll be seeing you players later. Peace.